Hello, everyone. This is High Priestess Tana, and thank you for tuning into Tana Temple Healing Works. And I am back with another review, y'all. This is about to be crazy. So, I had the opportunity to watch that show called The Polygamist on Netflix. Y'all, that shit was crazy. I was just like, what the hell am I watching? Like, this shit is. It was so much suspense, right? So let me start off by saying South Africa, I love their TV shows. Okay, the ones I've seen on Netflix thus far have been lit. Okay, so let's start off by saying I want to give credit to all the actors and actresses, and they did a phenomenal job in this particular series, and it captured my attention. And usually series don't capture my attention from episode 1 all the way until the end. When I tell you all 22 episodes had me gasping, like clutching my imaginary pearls, like oh my god, or clutching my crystals, honey, I was like, I can't. It was too much. So first and foremost, I want to break down a few things. It amazes me how some people have denial when it comes to them having certain STDs or STIs. I want to point that out first. And some people think that their behavior is acceptable because in their culture, so to speak, this is like the way of life. Like it's the thing to have more than one wife. But at the same time, you don't have to be disrespectful, right? You can have multiple wives if that's what your culture consists of. I mean, but you don't have to be disrespectful, I guess you would say. And if everyone is on one accord and it's not a secret, then I mean, that's between grown folks. You know what I mean? Y'all have to have a mutual understanding. I live in America. I hear polygamy. I mean, people practice polygamy, but you can't marry more than one person at a time. So, um, I would say people are in polyamorous relationships, but I think is it polyandry or something when you are able to marry one and more than one person. That doesn't exist in the United States. You can't have more than one husband or one wife at a time in this country. But people do have polyamorous relationships here in the United States where they may have a wife and a girlfriend and everybody know about each other, or sometimes they're more than just a wife and a girlfriend. It could be multiple girlfriends and a wife, or multiple boyfriends and a husband, or a boyfriend and a husband. You get me. But from my understanding, in South Africa, they only allow men to have multiple wives and not women to have multiple husbands. So, if I recall correctly, but y'all, let's get into it, cuz I've been just basically running my mouth enough, right? So, I got to get into this cuz this is a lot to unpack, baby. 22 episodes. And when I tell you my head was about to spin, I said, "What in the girl?" Anyway, let's tap in. So, first and foremost, this particular series was based off of a novel, okay? So, I found out it was based on a novel by Sue Nayati. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. Because from my understanding, the original language that the program was filmed in is Zulu. So you could tell that there was an English voice dub in the series, but it's totally fine because I mean I was able to understand because they had an English dub, um, voice dub or audio dub. So okay, oh my goodness, this story was adapted from a novel by Sue Nayati. 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 I hope I'm I don't know how to pronounce the last name correctly. You have to forgive me. But this particular series is like a soap opera or telenovela. Okay, like on Univision and stuff like that. You know, it kind of give me that vibe, but the South African version of it. And when I tell you it's scandalous and shady to the 10th power, honey, I was like, what? So this story is basically focused on a businessman from Johannesburg, and his name is Jonas Gomorrah. Okay, he he's something else. Okay, I'm just gonna say that, and he's married to his influencer wife, whose name is Joyce, and unbeknownst to Joyce at this time in the beginning of the series, she didn't know that Jonas had a second wife and also another woman named Matipa, who he was involved in a relationship with. Um, whew. Okay, so I'm just going to try to highlight as much as possible things that stood out to me. I'm not trying to go blow by blow because it's 22 episodes and I really don't have the bandwidth or energy to go through all that. And plus, it's not really necessary. Just go watch the series, but I just want to point something out. You have people who are socialites or they're well known in their town or in their country, and things seem like they're perfect, right? It seems like the perfect marriage, the perfect husband, the perfect wife, the beautiful mansion, beautiful family, and everything. And they have everything that they want, from luxury cars, clothes, different wigs, you name it, okay? Different suits and ties, dress shoes, heels, they got the whole nine. And you're thinking that this family is living glamorous and fabulous, honey. Meanwhile, people don't know what's going on behind closed doors with Jonas and his wife Joyce. Okay? So, Joyce is an influencer, and she spends a lot of time pretty much uploading content, and she's showing people how fabulous her life is and how accomplished she is and how strong she is and successful on top of that in general. But Joyce is living in a life full of hell because her husband Jonas is cheating on her. He's a philanderer. He cheats a lot. He commits adultery a lot. And he has no shame. He's a well respected businessman in Johannesburg. He loves women. He is a womanizer. He was abusive. He was heartless and callous. And he went very low to get what he wanted. Very, very low. He didn't care about anybody's feelings who was involved with him. And Joyce got tired of this idiotic behavior of his, very immature, very self-centered and heartless and toxic behavior of Jonas. It started to disturb her. We see Joyce going off the deep end. And it was very sad to see all these women go through what they went through to be with this man. But there was one woman, or young woman, I would say, out of the bunch, because she was very young. Actually, she was a teenager, come to find out. Jonas was so shady and scandalous that he had the audacity to sleep with his daughter's best friend named Lindani. Lindani, at first, you kind of felt sorry for her because she seemed like she didn't come from the best part of town. Um, it looked like she came from some part of Soweto that may have not been the best part of town. I don't know much about South Africa besides what I read and what I've seen on TV, and it looks like a very beautiful place. But compared to how the Gamoras live, Lindani does not live in a does not have the lap of luxury. She, is from the other side of the tracks. And it seems like she had something against the Gamora's daughter named Mopume. Mopume is both Jonas and Joyce's daughter. Menzie is their son. And Menzie had a big crush on Lindani. Okay? He was hot for her. And unfortunately, his father had to basically smash her before he got a chance to get to her. But I'm going to tell you how the role of Lindani played out in the end. I'm going to jump back to her. But I'm just showing you how low Jonas went. And see, that's the thing about Jonas is a narcissist. He's also a womanizer, a control freak. And it seemed like he came from humble beginnings himself. From what I was looking at, I think he came from a part of town that wasn't a part of Johannesburg that may have been poor. Because if you look back in the story, when it comes to a chapter, I forgot which episode that was, it escapes me now, but Essie, who is his secret second wife that a lot of people didn't know about, well, especially unbeknownst to Joyce, she held him down. Essie held Jonas down when he didn't have anything. She helped him pay for his tuition for school and a few other things. And she also ended up having a child, a boy, by another man. And her son name is Freedom, who was not Jonas' son at all. Okay? Because Jonas would go back and forth with different women then. And when he came back in the picture, he's looking like, okay, because he went to school as well to pursue his education, but he also was dealing with other women in the process. And he will go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with Essie. Now, Essie, to me, and I'm not trying to sound disrespectful or anything, but it's funny how he didn't make Essie the first wife, but he made Joyce the first wife. And I think because Joyce had a little bit more, well, a lot more to offer than Essie did, even though Essie had held Jonas down when he was poor, so to speak, when he was less fortunate. It looks like Joyce was able to elevate him on a more professional and societal level than Essie. Essie came from the hood compared to Joyce. Joyce looked like she came from an affluent background, if I recall correctly. And Jonas chose to marry Joyce before Essie because, see, Joyce was better for his image. Essie is also a very plus size woman. Joyce isn't. And I mean, in South Africa, men love bigger women. They have very big women in South Africa. And for what I saw, and I gotta, give a shout out because there was a lot of ass in here too. By the way, I just had to point that out. And you could tell those weren't no shots or implants. That was real, okay? And shout out to the booties, in the episode, because you could tell that was for real. South Africa got some women that stack. You hear me? Ain't nothing to play with. That's grown woman body right there, okay? But anyway, moving on. It's funny, but y'all, I get credit when credit is due. Yeah, so I believe that's why he went to Joyce too, because she fit that image of success. the elegance, how the way she dressed, how the way she spoke, totally different from Essie. Essie sometimes will wear like mismatched pattern clothes and stuff. It's, you could tell, like, even though she kept herself together when it came to like her hair and nails and stuff, and she would have her lashes and makeup on, but it was different. It was more like hood versus Joyce. Let's just keep it real. Joyce was very high class, very affluent, very um, just well polished in general. Okay, now I want to jump ahead and start talking about the other characters on the show. So we have, I mentioned about, and they have another child to the Gamoras, Joyce and Jonas. They have a third child. I forgot the child name, but they really didn't show him a whole lot. But I'm gonna tell you this. There was a lot of manipulation and mind games going on, and I'm gonna tell you this, okay? In the process of all that, we end up finding out that Joyce was not the only woman, obviously, because I mentioned Essie, who ended up being the secret second wife, right? But that was found out, like, kind of like, I want to say midway through the episodes, a little bit, kind of like the first quarter, close to midway, if I recall correctly. But Joyce was under the impression that Essie was Magesh's wife, who was Jonas's older brother. People of the Gamora family thought that Magesh, oh, my head is itching, y'all, thought that Magesh Gamora, who is, what's his name, Jonah's older brother, they thought that Essie was Magesh's wife, and that Freedom and Sarah were his children. But this is the real tea. We, of course, we know now, since I've already revealed it, that Essie is the second wife to Jonas. And but this the thing, I also mentioned that Freedom is another man's son, is a child that Essie had by another man. Okay, while she was on and off with Jonas. And Sarah is the secret love child of Essie and Jonas, right? But the whole time, the second marriage and the birth of Sarah was a secret. Sarah was not Jonas's niece. That was his actual daughter. That was Essie and Jonas's daughter. But to the other family members, they thought that that was Magesh's daughter, and Freedom was his son, and Essie was his wife. But that's not true. We come to find out. So I'm going to segue into talk about Matipa. Matipa was I think a new hire at the company that Jonas and his brother Magesh have, or whatever. If I recall correctly, that was Jonas's company, but Magesh worked for Jonas, who's Magesh is the older brother. Magesh was initially in a relationship with Matipa. Matipa ended up working for the company, and I noticed that she would like push away from Magesh, and she didn't really want him touching her and stuff. And it's almost like she was ashamed to be with him, but then come to find out, what blew my mind was that the reason why she was acting funny towards him, because she really thought he was married with children. And he wasn't really married to Essie at all, and those were not his children. So he got shortchanged out of life for a long time. This was a secret that was held from the family for about 20 years or so. A 20-year secret, okay? And the funny part is with Matipa, from what it sounded like, I think she was trying to level up in the company and she wanted to get with the boss man because she was all about power and influence and success. So she wanted to meet Jonas personally. She delivered some type of documents or something she was working on. Um, and she basically wanted to get close to Jonas. And of course, you already know they got close because he's a horn dog. He wasn't about to turn some young pretty thing down. No. And Matipa was very pretty, very intelligent, but her behavior towards Joyce was very disrespectful. She was very disrespectful in my opinion. But Joyce was acting out towards her too, but it's like some of that anger should have been more directed towards Jonas, if you ask me. But I digress. It seemed like she got in both of their asses, really, as I'm thinking about it. But um, Joyce finds out that he's messing around with Matipa because, from what it looks like, we didn't know at first, but Joyce was carrying her and Jonas's third child. She had that child kind of later on in the years. And I was like, oh, she had another baby because, um, what's his name? Minzy and Mopume were older. They were like older teenagers or something. And it's crazy because I was like, oh wow. It was interesting because it seemed like everything looked and felt like it was okay then. Because when Matipa first met Jonas, Joyce was in the process of giving birth to their third child, and Matipa kept throwing herself on this man, and he kept feeding into her, and she fed into him. And they both end up, hooking up and having sex and stuff in the office and all that. And eventually the affair ended up turning into a full-on relationship. She became a full-on mistress, a whole mistress. And he bought her a house. He was spoiling her, buying her whatever she wanted from what it looked like. And he went out of the way for this woman. And apparently he was madly in love with her because he wanted Joyce to get a divorce. He kept hounding her about, I want you to get a divorce. I want us to get a divorce. He kept telling Joyce that because he wanted to be with Matipa. And from my understanding, yeah, the children knew about her. I remember them going to the house, and it was so disrespectful because he was already having an affair with this woman before the marriage was even ended. Well, I'm just going to tell you this. Him and Joyce never end up getting divorced, right? So that I thought that was interesting how he started off, I want a divorce, I want a divorce. But then Joyce was on Jonas' ass about having his wedding anniversary. But they were already on the outs with each other, y'all. So I didn't understand what was the point. She wanted to just show off in front of everybody. Oh, we still got it after 20 years of being with each other and blah, blah, blah. This is real love and this, that, and the other and blah, 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 blah. So she's an influencer. She's about the optics and about being well known and stuff in the spotlight and being presented in a very esteemed way. So that's why she wanted to keep up the charade. If that marriage was doomed. But something happened along the way while they had this wedding anniversary. And all of a sudden, after the wedding anniversary, they end up hooking up. And he decided, because she ended up signing the paper, but he decided that he wanted to stay with her. I don't know what happened. It seemed like he was getting flashbacks of memories of them and stuff. And I guess he realized she was the one that really held him down, really elevated him even more than the other women. So check this out. Matipa brought her ass, and I forgot to mention this before I jumped into the other nitty gritty, but Matipa brought her ass to the what you call the wedding anniversary. Messy, messy, messy. She talks about Joyce so bad, calling her an old hag and all this other stuff. And she basically saying she ain't got shit on Joyce ain't got shit on her, and she tired and yesterday's news and all this other shit. But I forgot to mention Joyce came to the house that Jonas and Matipa was in, and she burnt the house down. She was trying to burn, it looked like some passports of Jonas and Matipa's. She tried to burn that shit, and ended up burning the damn house down. And Matipa called the cops on Joyce. But after that, she ended up having a wedding anniversary with Jonas. I said, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? And I'm going to mention something very important. While she was locked up, that brief amount of time, she met this lady. I forgot her name. Oh my God, I forgot her name. She was the lady that she ended up using to get back at Jonas. It was insane. I forgot her name. I'm gonna look it up right now. I gotta look this up. What is her name? Oh my goodness. She ended up using this woman to help to get revenge against Jonas for being a cheater and a liar and very disrespectful and abusive. She's going to be very important. I'm going to come back to her. So let me look her up now. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. This lady said that, yeah, I think her name is Lungi. This lady is the one, Lungi is the lady she met in prison. Or not prison, jail rather, when she had briefly got locked up. And she was basically getting revenge by burning that damn house up with Matipa and Jonas in it. So, check this out. Let's speed up again, because I went off track. Really didn't want to make this a episode by episode type of recap or review, but I'm going to go ahead and just jump into it. Keep going, since I'm already, gaining momentum. So, yeah. Joyce meets this woman, and this woman named Lungi is going to be very important near the end of the show. Near the last few episodes of the show. Okay, she's going to come back. So, Jonas, and after the anniversary, the wedding anniversary party, Jonas and Joyce end up rekindling their marriage. She had signed the divorce papers and everything, but he wanted to, like, you know what? Fuck that divorce. I want to be with you again. And she's looking like, okay. So he up here trying to go back playing family man and having barbecues and shit and spending quality time with the family and all this and that. And I was like, where's this guy? Who was this guy? And where the hell did he come from? So it was interesting. And Matipa was mad as shit, like, why are you acting funny? And what type of hold do she have on you? And it's funny because Joyce said the same thing about Matipa, like, I don't know what spell this woman put on you or what you got, like, what is she doing that I'm not doing or whatever, but she got you tripping. You need to come back home. And now Matipa is saying the same thing about Joyce, like, oh, all of a sudden you want to be family man again. You want to be this good husband, this faithful husband, but you just was telling me that you didn't want to be with her, or you didn't want this, or you didn't want that, and blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, is it because he felt like she went too much out of her way and she overstepped her boundaries by bringing her ass to that fucking wedding anniversary? She overstepped. She overstepped her boundaries as a mistress. And I think that turned Jonas off. Now, him and Matipa was supposed to have cut things off. Okay? But then let's speed it up. Joyce was having like pregnancy symptoms or something like that. She had ended up getting a pregnancy test. And okay, from what I was understanding, I was a little confused about this part. Did she get like her tubes tied, or I don't know, like, it's 22 episodes and shit. I don't remember every damn thing, but she may have gotten her tubes tied because she had just had a baby not long ago with Jonas, the third child, and he was fairly young. And it was something else I was about to say. So while she's in the hospital, the doctor tells her, hey, you know, they seem like the Gamora family is kind of busy. The women of the Gamora family are busy today, got us busy. And he was like, there's another Gamora woman that's down the hall. And I can't remember directly if he said that she gave birth. But baby, let me tell you something. Tell me why Jonas was in the hospital with Matipa and Matipa just gave birth to twin baby girls. Y'all. Let me speed it up. Okay. Okie dokie. We come to find out. That he said it was over with Matipa, but it was a situation where I can't remember if he came to the house, her house, or she came to something. They had an encounter. They had an encounter with each other. Got mad, started hitting each other, look like kind of slapping each other, some shit. And next thing you know, they done had sex, and he done found out she done fucked around and got pregnant with twins, honey. Y'all. And didn't tell Joyce a damn thing. She looking like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? I thought you said it was over. Well, he said it was, but remember that day I had went off on Minzy? I had got into it with him and blah, 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 because from my understanding, that day they got into it. I know it was a party that went down, and that's okay. We about to get introduced to Lindani in a minute, and Minzy was trying to impress Lindani too, and come to find out Lindani has a boyfriend. Okay. Minzy trying to get drinks and stuff, trying to show out for Lindani, who ended up being a bitch, by the way. And It's a mess. She had a whole boyfriend, wasn't even thinking about him. He, like, oh boy, her boyfriend came over, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we about to drink it. About to turn up and all. I'm like, that wasn't for you, but oh well. You know? But anyway, let's speed it up. I know y'all like, damn, how many times she gonna say that? Baby, Lindani end up fucking around with Jonas. Now, Lindani is a teenager. She's also the best friend of Mapume, who was the daughter of Jonas and Joyce. We see this whole, we get this whole little backstory about how her and the father started hooking up, okay? Her and the father started hooking up when that party happened. She ended up spending the night and she was trying to get some bourbon or something to make her go to sleep. And the father was looking like, yeah, you know, you could taste it and blah, blah, blah. And he was being all flirtatious and seductive. Next thing you know, he started, you know, sweet talking. Next thing you know, they end up having a full-on affair, okay? And I'm just about to speed this shit up because this part pissed me off anyway. She done fucked around and getting fucked by him 7 days from Sunday and shit. Or 7 ways from Sunday, however they say it. She up here getting her box 8 gag ball on. You know, he up there got her tasting different types of wine and different dining experiences, fine dining. She's not used to this. She's a damn teenager and she's not from that neck of the woods. She's not used to that luxury lifestyle. He got her in fancy hotel rooms and all this that went down. And mind you, this little bitch is telling her best friend, Mapume, yeah, I'm with a 45-year-old man. He's doing this and that to me. He takes care of me, taking her on weekend trips and shit. And kind of find out after the shit hit the fan, cause her boyfriend is mad. He was like, who was this dude you fucking with? And blah, 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 blah. He got mad at her and slammed her phone on the ground. And it cracked and broke. Now, this was a mess. Come to find out, she ended up getting pregnant by Jonas, who is 45 and she's a fucking teenager. I think Lindani was very young. Like, she was a young teenager, like maybe 17 or something like that. Baby, she may have been 17, maybe 18 at the most, or going on 18. I don't know, but it was very inappropriate and it was disgusting. And he was definitely acting like a whole predator. Okay, I'm gonna say that. He up there giving her his credit card. She going shopping and all this other dumb shit. He got her wearing sexy lingerie and experimenting sexually, different things sexually in the bedroom. She fucked around and got pregnant by him, but guess what? She didn't go full term. She ended up miscarrying. Baby, tell me why she ended up going to the hospital. And tell me why Joyce and Mapume was there. And Joyce was like, I'm here as your mother. What's going on? Like, who was this man? Like, basically, this filthy old man trying to mess around with you. You a damn child. You know what I'm saying? And this motherfucker up here fucking around with you. And this, that, and the other. Come find out. Because I think Mapume told Joyce that Lindani was messing around with an older man and she was pregnant, but she lost the baby. And she started to put she started putting his name on there on a sheet. I guess the, what you call that sheet, the check-in sheet or whatever, the when you get there, like, you have to fill out the paperwork and stuff. And I think Joyce was trying to reach the clipboard, and then Lindani was, she started cramping up and shit. Because she didn't want her to see that Jonas' name, Jonas Gamora, was on the damn paper. I think it was like her emergency paper contacts or whatever. Nobody was at the front desk. It was just a hot ass mess. Baby, tell me why she done fucked around and called. Um, she done fucked around and called Jonas like 25 times and he didn't answer because he really didn't want to be bothered. Obviously, he had other shit going on too, and it was a mess. Um, he came and got her from the hospital, brought her back to the house, and woo wee, this when the shit hit the fan, y'all. She fucked around and went back to the house in the fucking bathtub. He told me, I'm gonna make soft porridge for you. She's like, you make soft porridge or whatever the fuck. And he was in a we gonna speed up till nighttime when the rest of the Gamora family come back. Minzy, Joyce, and Mapume, they come back. They hearing laughing and shit, especially Joyce. Like, what the fuck is this? She seeing clothes on the bed and stuff. Next thing you know, we see Jonas bathing Lindani, trying to nurse her back to health. Ain't that some shit? Joyce went off. She took a belt, like, bow, bow. She started beating both their ass. Like, this what the fuck you doing? This how low you are, Jonas? You messing with a child? What the fuck? And she beat her ass. She beat Lindani's ass. And she beat Jonas' ass. Next thing you know, Jonas got into an argument with Minzy. He was about to damn near choke him out. It looked like he was about to flip him over the banister. Come to find out, it was Lindani, because Lindani ended up running out the house. And I don't know what happened, but I think either Lindani called the police on them or her mom ended up calling the police on them or something. I don't know. It's a hot ass mess, but it was crazy, y'all. I'm just like, what is really going on, you know? And it was just crazy. I'm just like, what? Oh, I thought something was on my hair for a minute. It was just a mess. It was a mess. And she basically was trying to press charges against what's her name? Against Joyce. But anyway, we gonna speed it up. After all that went down, we come to find out, oh, y'all, wait a minute. Before I forget. Matipa basically was like, what she say? She said that she was going to her gynecologist and stuff, right? So Matipa looking like, yeah, you know, I'm going to my gynecologist, something going on with my body, etc., etc. Girl, come to find out that she had gonorrhea. See what I'm talking about? Jonas fucking all these different women. Now, mind you, and I gotta get back to this. Jonas had been sleeping with all three of his wives because he had already, at this stage, he had already married Matipa. He had already married Matipa, and he had gave her gonorrhea. He was sleeping with Essie because he went back sleeping with her. And he also gave Joyce the same. All of them had it. And I assumed that Lindani had it too. And she just didn't say nothing. And I'm thinking, is that why she miscarried as well? Y'all, it's a mess. It's just a hot ass mess going on with this whole damn series. It is. It really is a hot ass mess. So long story kept short. She sat up here. I said, this is just the shit that goes on, like, with Lindani. She just don't care. She still was going back seeing this man. after all that happened. So basically, nobody wants to fuck with Jonas anymore because he gave them gonorrhea. I'm not sure. We still don't know if she got it too, if Lindani had got it too. But I don't know. They never said she did, but I assume that she may have had it. Y'all. Oh, that's another thing too. I wanted to go back to when Matipa married Jonas. She thought she was the second wife. She was not the second wife. She was the third wife because we found out that Jonas was secretly married to Essie, and Sarah was his daughter and not his niece. Because it was some situation that was brought up to how um Sarah basically was saying that we need to cut all the shenanigans. We already know that I'm the daughter. I'm Jonah's daughter. This, that, and the other. And it was some other stuff that went down too. It was just crazy. So I was just sitting up here just processing everything. Like, this is so messy. It's so messy. And another thing too, it was something important. It was something important that was on my mind. Oh my God, it's escaping me now. But it was something that was on my mind real heavy about Essie and Jonas sleeping with each other again. Essie had been messing around with a younger man, and she told Jonas that, hey, I can't keep going without being with a man. You know, this thing got to be fed. I laughed my ass off. She said, this thing got to get fed. And baby, you ain't putting in no work. Somebody got to give them strokes. He said something about his old boy strokes was weak. And she said, actually, he gives me amazing strokes. And I laughed my ass off. I was like, this shit is funny as hell. It was funny. It was so funny. Oh my God. But come to find out, he thought that Joyce was going to do something for his birthday. Something extravagant. She didn't. She didn't plan anything. He was like, she's usually good with these types of things. She looking like, fuck you. You've been fucking up too bad. You've been fucking up too bad. So he ended up, partying with Essie. Where Effie came from with Essie. And they was in Soweto turning up, going to the tavern or the little club there, and she throwing it back, dropping it low. And she was looking like, I ain't think you still had it in you since you all, bougie and, all upper class and all, you know what I'm saying? And he had actually, blew her back out a few times. We didn't see, he hit it from the back on one episode, and then he was sleeping with her and stuff around when he was getting rejected by the other women. So yeah, because usually he don't fuck with her like that. He almost act like she didn't exist or something. I was just like, oh, that's strange, but it's weird. People do some weird shit. So it was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, Matipa marrying Jonas and her mother saying, you got to be a fool to want to marry this man. You want to come second. Well, really, she wasn't second, she was third. And she figured, well, I got the babies, And I noticed that once she had the twins, Jonas started being more aggressive towards Joyce, it seemed like. He started to try to want to be up in her face a little bit more. And it was crazy because eventually he did end up starting to jump on both Joyce and Matipa. He was abusive, and I'm trying to think with Lindani, I never saw him jump on her, but he almost hit Essie, and it was the other guy, this younger guy she was messing around with, was like, look, homie, you need to back up for real, my G, for real, you need to back up. I got this piece right here, I'm about to smoke your ass, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, but this fool Jonas did not want to take his medication for gonorrhea. It was like he was in denial. Like, I'm not taking that. I'm not sick. Whatever. I was like, huh? So anyway, to speed it up, right? Dude turned around and one day, cause he ended up going back to being with Lindani because nobody wanted to fuck with him. None of his wives eventually did not want to deal with him. And she said, I am your family. So she's looking like, okay, yeah, whatever. And he told her one day, he said, hey, she said, I hope I'm, going to be enough for your office party or whatever. Like, I hope I'm going to be on point or whatever. And next thing you know, he was like, it's an office party, whatever. You don't have to be all this and that or whatever. You're fine. And look whose girl you are and this and that. He gave her the credit card and she was like, oh, thanks, Daddy. Just went out. Went out the door. Next thing you know, you hear a knock. And we like, who is this? It's Lungi or Lungi. She comes to the door and she's all seductive. She was like, I'm looking for Matipa and this, that, and the other. And, yeah, Matipa had already left. Oh, y'all, I forgot to mention one big important thing. Matipa had left the twins with Joyce and she ended up starting over a new life elsewhere. So Joyce ended up raising the twins. And Jonas was like, thank you so much. He was telling Joyce, because you're a good woman and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, this is some bullshit right here. But, the fucking nerve of your ass. Too much fucking nerve in my opinion. But, y'all, they getting on my nerves. Next thing you know, he's talking with this woman. Didn't know this woman from the Man on the Moon, touching all on her thigh and shit. And they fucked that same day. Next thing you know, he's coughing, real bad. Had a lingering cough for a few weeks. He goes to the doctor. They tell him he had HIV. He's looking like, well, first they told him you have pneumonia. And they said basically you have pneumonia that's related to HIV, like HIV related pneumonia rather. Ooh, where I get that from? So they told him that, yeah, sorry, I hate to inform you this, but you have pneumonia and it's HIV related. You also have HIV. And he was like, what? No, that can't be it. And I'm like, yeah, it is. You're a fucking whore. What did you expect? So, honey, he's sick as a dog. He don't want to take no medication. He ended up getting sores all on his mouth and shit. And Lindani, he was still with her. She talked about her mother abandoned her because she chose to live with him. And honestly, I think she only wanted to stay with him because she wanted to see how much she could get out of him. I believe that's what it was. She wanted to see how much she could get out of him financially. And from my understanding, he left that house to her or something. But she basically didn't really clean up, really wasn't hell of a cook from what I saw. He's coughing and coughing and coughing, and it sped up to, I think, like maybe a few years later or something. And she said, basically, like, leave me the fuck alone. I'm living my life. Your soup is in the oven, and you gonna have to figure out shit on your own. Lindani didn't give a fuck about him. She didn't have take care of him. He was admitted to the hospital, but then she ended up taking him out and she had him in his bedroom and it was fucking filthy. The pillowcase was filthy, looked like vomit or something was on it. It was just disgusting and it just looked nasty. The room was very um unclean and very unsanitary looking, and it was just crazy. And next thing you know, Joyce was having this event. I forgot exactly what was going on. She was celebrating something and some important milestone in her life. And come to find out, Lindani brought the husband to the party and basically dumped him off there. He was in a wheelchair. He looked nasty and diseased. Um, he had a lot going on. He had a lot going on with him. And he was just knocking on death's door. And basically, you know, that's part of his karma for the shit he did. And let's be honest, Joyce knew how he got that shit. I'm just gonna tell y'all. She was the one that set him up with Lungi or whatever, because she was the woman that she met in jail that short amount of time, who ended up getting HIV from her boyfriend, who was also, I believe, cheating on her and abusing her as well. And that was the same lady. And she basically, they showed a montage and stuff of her talking to him, and it was kind of giving me a like Diary of a Mad Black Woman type of vibes. And she was basically telling him, oh motherfucker, you thought you got me, checkmate, I got your ass, you know. And she basically told him that she sent Lungi there to give him that shit on purpose, to give him HIV on purpose. Oh my god. And he left everything to his son Menzi. It was crazy. It was a mess. It was a mess, y'all. And the funny part, well, not funny like ha ha, but the sad part was, it's like, see, Matipa was out of the picture. Lindani didn't give a fuck. She wasn't a wife, so she really didn't matter. But Essie was affected the most because she took him and had him buried over on the side of town that they grew up in, and it was crazy. It was crazy. She was about to put him in the dirt, and it looked like it was very rural where they was, almost like a desert, and it had to be somewhere like Soweto or something like that. But it was giving me it was a very tribal Zulu looking wedding. I mean, not wedding, sorry, Zulu looking funeral. Where I get wedding from, oh my god. Zulu looking funeral. And they were singing the songs and everything. And Joyce put a hope. She was like, oh hell no. Bitch, you better bring his body up now. I'm taking him back home with me and I'm doing the funeral my way. She didn't even want Sarah and Essie to come. They caused so much trouble because, look, I forgot to mention, Sarah had slept with her sister and Mapume's boyfriend. And they were no longer welcome to the Gamora household. It was too much drama they brought with them. And it was crazy because when Jonas was still living, Essie brought this soup, but Joy said that it stunk. It smelled really bad, and she threw that shit out. She threw it out. She was like, that shit smelled horrible. Throw that shit out. Talk about it was one of his favorite dishes. I was like, okay. Sarah was also trying to force a relationship with her father. He didn't want nothing to do with her at all. He didn't. He looked at her as like a nobody. He stood her up on a lunch date and stuff, and it was just a mess. It was a mess. That dynamic between them two. And one thing I was talking about this a little bit before I started the video full on. Um, Jonas was in denial about having STDs and STIs. At first, he didn't want to admit that he had gonorrhea. He barely wanted to take the medicine. Then, when he caught HIV, he didn't want to believe the doctors about that. Oh, it's a lot of denial going on, is what I'm saying. And also, Matipa came back to the funeral. She ended up coming to the funeral, the one that Joyce ended up having for. I'm sorry, the one that Joyce ended up having for Jonas, and that's why I don't play. It doesn't pay to play with people's emotions. This man had broken a lot of women's hearts, their mental state. He had beat Matika Matipa. Why did I say Matika? He beat Matipa so badly. That's what made her want to leave town and not want to reconcile with him at all. And she left the twins with Joyce, and she just started over. But she came back, and she was trying to hug the twins. They looking like, I don't know. We don't know you, lady. You like, where are you coming from? You know. So it was crazy, and oh boy, come to find out, Joyce had whispered in a casket to Jonas, like, well, you said to death do us part. And basically, I brought you to your death, motherfucker, basically, in so many words. And, how you like me now, motherfucker, basically, in so many words. Even though she told him what was up anyway. Y'all, this was a mess. I know I ain't cover everything, but it was a mess. I mean, to me, Jonas treated the mistresses better than the wives. It's like when you became a wife, he treated you worse. Like when Matipa was a mistress, he treated her better. But when he put a ring on it, he treated her like shit. He beat on her the most because she really was aggressive with him. She didn't play with him. Joyce didn't play with him either. And he started beating on her, but he beat Matipa way worse than he beat on Joyce. But either way, he shouldn't have been beating on neither one of them. Mapume was very devastated because she hated her fucking father at one point. But then it became like a love-hate. Because at first she loved her dad, then she hated him, then it's like, caught in between. Because he did so many scandalous and just downright ugly, shady things to them. The whole family, I can understand. And I remember she had her tablet trying to read something she wrote for him because she was trying to express how she was being affected by all of this. But it shows that everything that glitters isn't gold, and it was definitely some stuff going on that was a mess. And it was a lot to unpack. I hope y'all enjoyed this review. Once again, my name is High Priestess Tana. Please take a look at other content on my page, and please like, share, and subscribe. And also, you can check out my shop, Tana Temple, on Etsy, and I'll leave the link in the description box below. And hope y'all have a beautiful rest of y'all day. Peace. Love y'all. Stay safe, stay blessed, and stay in peace. Not pieces, like Iyanla say. All right. Peace.